Hey, what's up, you guys? WWE fan 0599 here again, and welcome back to Horror Fest 2016. And today's Horror Fest 2016 review will be for The Cabin in the Woods. So, The Cabin in the Woods stars Kristen Connolly, Chris Hemsworth, Anne Hutcherson, Fran Kranz, and Jesse Williams. And what this film is about, it's about when this group of five decide they're going to go into a cabin in the woods basically for the weekend. And some weird stuff starts happening while they're at the cabin. And let's just say there's a little more to this cabin than meets the eye. So, what did I think of The Cabin in the Woods? The Cabin in the Woods takes the horror genre basically and flips it on its head in the most genius way possible. I love The Cabin in the Woods. The Cabin in the Woods is one of the all-time best horror comedies, I think, just ever. Because of how genius and how brilliant, like I said, they flip the horror genre on its head, and it does it so brilliantly, and I love it. It's such a great movie. I love The Cabin in the Woods. So, let's get into my positives. And my positives are the acting. The acting was actually really good in this movie. I thought everyone did a really good job in the film. Kristen Connolly as, I want to say the main focus of the movie. She was really good in the movie. I thought she did a very nice job. I thought she did a very good job in the film. I really liked her character. She was very good. Chris Hemsworth, very good as well. I enjoyed him in the movie, He did a great job. I very much enjoyed Chris Hemsworth in the film. Anne Hutcherson, she was good too. Fran Kranz as the druggie basically. I want to say he was my favorite character in the entire movie. He was just kind of just chilled, laid back, but he knew something weird was going on, and I actually very much enjoyed his character. So yeah, and Jesse Williams was very good too. I enjoyed him as well. So yeah, the acting's really good in the movie. The horror element of it, where, the horror stuff happens, is great. I love that with the movie. When we actually get to, the horror element stuff of the film, I love it. The comedy. Man, the comedy is perfect in this movie. It is so funny, and all the jokes they make at practically all horror films is genius. I just love that about this movie. It's just great. I love, how they just poke so much fun at horror films in this movie. And they do such a great job with that in this movie. And the comedy just works 100% in the movie. I love the comedy with this film. I was dying at some points in this movie because of just how funny it was. So, yeah. Just the originality and just the concept behind this movie is used to perfection. Like I said in the intro, it takes the horror genre and just flips it on its head. Because, you get this. This is practically every single horror film ever made, and that's what it's trying to do, because it's making fun of that. And I love that with this movie. And when you find out, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw trailers for this and stuff, I was like, oh, this is gonna be awful, because it looks like every single horror film ever made. But then when I finally watched it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is more genius than I thought, because there's some other things, which I won't spoil, of course, but there's some other things that are happening in this movie, and you're just like, whoa, because it's so funny and so awesome. I love that about this movie, because just of how genius and how well they poke fun at the horror genre. It's not like something like scary, like the awful scary movies, all those terrible parody movies. No, they actually do it in a genius way. And I love that, And just the kind of little hits that they take at the horror genre is just great. Kind of give it a giant middle finger at some point, and it's just great. I love that about this movie. The writing's excellent. I love the writing with the movie. The writing is just absolutely phenomenal. It's written by, Joss Whedon actually co-wrote the screenplay with Drew Goddard, and man, he just, you could definitely tell it has Joss Whedon's stamp all over it, and he just did such a phenomenal job writing the film with Drew Goddard. And speaking of Drew Goddard, his direction with the movie, the directing, it's directed by Drew Goddard himself, and he does a great job with the directing with the film. I love the directing with The Cabin in the Woods. And the pacing's great. The movie's an hour and 35 minutes. I was invested throughout the entire film. There was never a time I was bored with the movie, honestly. I was so invested in this film. Now, the only problem I do have with The Cabin in the Woods is that I'm not going to say much, but there are some things that do have to involve visual effects at some points, and they don't really look all that great. Like, they honestly don't. Like, I can tell, like, it kind of just didn't look great. It didn't look awful or anything. I was just like, okay, they could have done a little bit better with the visual effects, but that's about it. That's the only thing I really bad I have to say about this movie. So overall, The Cabin in the Woods, to me, The Cabin in the Woods is still the best horror film of the decade. There's not been a horror film that has been able to touch this movie because of how brilliant and how genius this movie is, of how much they just poke fun at the horror genre, and it might be the best parody movie I think ever created. So it's time for my official grade on The Cabin in the Woods, and my official grade on The Cabin in the Woods is an A. The Cabin in the Woods, like I said, it's a fantastic movie that pokes fun at the horror genre and flips it on its head in the most perfect way possible. I love The Cabin in the Woods. I talk about this movie as much as I can because it's so brilliant and it's just so fantastic, and I love it. It's so incredible. So, what did you guys think of The Cabin in the Woods? Leave in the comment section below. I'm WWEFan0599, and we'll see you all tomorrow for my review of Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Peace.